So we wake up early this morning to, oh, winter wonderland. Yesterday we had some sleety rain, and today we're going to have some snow. So I guess what this means is we're not going to be able to paint today. And that's why I always love any of the projects I have, all the restorations. I love the way I do them leapfrogging. And that leapfrogging, we're going to be leaping some frogs today, I can see. So the idea is always to figure out, based on the weather, what projects can we work on today and how much time do we have available. And that, of course, right now is up to Karen, who's in the middle of decorating the house. And that's how we keep every day interesting, every day like a new challenge. Every one of these restorations was loaded with challenges and days like today and freezing weather and ponds freezing over, and oh, it's an adventure. And I always say it's so boring to hear me say it, but it's true. If you know where you're going, it's not really an adventure. But I know where we're going. We're going down into the shop where it's nice and warm and do something that we don't have to go outside other than we don't even have to shovel snow today until the end of the day to see how much snow we're going to get. So I always think the funniest things in life you can't really make up. You can't go out and write comedy for Jay Leno. This is funny. John had sent me this is material that you cut with a brand new blade, which I have the blades, of course. This is beautiful. And I need to do some experiment. The problem is I can't spray today because it's snowing. So I'm going to put this on the back burner, but I thought I'd share a really funny thing. When John sent this, there was just a random piece of paper in front of this. So me being the genius that I am, and this is what I love about having a high IQ. I open this up, and I've got about 12 packages from Amazon. I got radar detector parts. I've got Karen stuff. Santa Claus is bringing me belt buckles and whatever. Gefilte fish coming in the mail. And I look at it and I go, see, my brain doesn't connect what I'm reading. This is really a piece of paper that describes how to change the screen on a cell. I don't even have a modern phone. I have a flip phone. So I'm the equivalent of a flip phone, in fact. So this is the funniest thing. I look at it and I'm saying, well, I'm going to work on this in the future, but let me just take a quick look. Yeah, I see scissors and do this. And I look real quick. I see 80 grit sandpaper and do this and sand that. And we're going to make a stencil. So without even thinking, because I'm shooting video and paint is drying and Karen's cooking bananas and everything up there. So I just put it away. Well, then I come back and look at it close. I said, well, let me read the directions. Let's see what, do this, cut this, sand it. What the hell? It's not, has nothing to do with the decals. But anyway, that's a funny story. See, when you think something, when you think a certain thing is going to happen, you kind of, in your mind, you make it happen. That is if your brain works as well as mine does. Anyway, we do have this. I was thinking today what I'd do is I'd cut this stencil, but I can't paint. So I'm going to put this on the back burner. And I've got to plan out a day, and this is why I try to stay flexible. I got to plan out a day of doing stuff that I don't have to be outside. So this is the part we put some Bondo in. We're trying to fix that. And I thought I'd show what these nail files, I call them, they're actually soft nail files. These, and this is, of course, the 4CR Bondo. What they're handy for, and they're really handy. They're handy for getting a nice little cut on the Bondo. And again, and thank you, Scott, for contributing these to the A-Team cause. And we accept all contributions, and I don't know. We always seem to have some fun doing it. But these are really good for just cutting it down. I've got to sand it with 600 or 400 before I prime it. But I can't prime it today, so what's the difference? So these are handy, and when they're done, you just take them over to the sink and wash them off, and they're brand new again. They are really handy. It's like wet sanding. Now, just to show, I got some water here. You can also, because I'm doing this more for a demo than anything else, you can also, at least some of them that Karen has bought me, these are called Sassy and Chic. And they have them in all different grits, of course. You can do some wet sanding with these if you want. But ultimately, I'm going to have to get some fine grit on this. And it's always a good idea now. A day like today, I try to use up the fact that I can't paint, realistically. unless I put snowshoes on. So what it's going to allow me to do is get a lot of little prep things ready so that the next paintable day, I'll have everything ready to go. And see how nice that wet sands? It really is nice. Now another really nice trick for sanding and shaping, because I have several of these rolls of sticky back paper, and I can just, to get this curve in here, this is a very difficult curve to get without a tool. You're almost impossible to get it if you're just using your bare hand. Well, any diameter, if I need this a small diameter, I can just unwind some, or in some cases I'll go get a newer roll that's bigger. And I have these are very, very handy to have. And as you use them, the big one becomes a small one, and you just go buy another big one. So it's the best of all worlds. But for getting this kind of a radius, now yeah, they're actually not even going to see this radius until you take the seat off, but we are such perfectionists. What can I say? Here in the Kremlin, we want nothing but the best. And of course, it only wears out the edge of the sandpaper, so you can still peel that off and use it. But boy, that does a real nice job of getting that shape in there. So what happens, and it's a part of the whole thing I do of sequencing jobs and leapfrogging, if I can get parts ready so that the next day that we have a reasonable chance to paint. Now, in a real emergency, you know, I could, I don't know what, go in the back room and paint, and I've done that every once in a while. But then Karen, I see her looking in a knife drawer to see if there's a really sharp knife, and we watched that show, Wives with Knives. So I'm kind of tempted to just wait out this weather. You never know. Now, there's other stuff I can do here to get things prepped up. I'm not sure what. I can look around, but first I have another cup of coffee, and that'll get me going. There's another part. There was a little defect down here, and what it is, oh, I dropped it. Where this plastic part is, there was a little indentation. I wanted to fill it up with Bondo. I have no idea why I didn't notice that. And by the way, these rolls of sticky back paper you can get from any body shop supply. Super, super handy. I think this is 180, but I don't think it's critical right now. But I want to use a block, of course. Anything I want to sand flat, I want to use a block. Now, Bondo is very tricky. If you try to sand it before it's dry, what happens? It comes off like chewing gum. Or if you mix it incorrectly, and I don't know, they're really pretty free and easy with the mixing ratio, because the reality is that any polyester resin, anything that has that fiberglassy smell, if you put 1 drop of catalyst in a 55-gallon drum of resin, it'll eventually cure. That's not true with epoxy. It's only true with polyester resin. And if you put extra catalyst in the polyester resin, boy, does it go off in a hurry and get hot. Ask me how I know. I almost set the house on fire one time making a propeller mold. I'm sure somewhere on the video, the model airplane videos, I have that video. It was pretty scary stuff. Now, one of the ways I tell, and this is a John Pothier trick with the thin, these are the real thin gloves. You rub your hand over it. Never look at a place that's been Bondoed and look at the view. Close your eyes, rub your hand over it, and you can pick up any high or low spots. You can see this is pretty well feathered in. Well, that'll probably mean that now what I'll do, just to make this easy, I'll go over the whole part with some 600, and that'll be ready that, you know, if Santa Claus comes and makes it stop snowing, we can work on it. But I'll have all the parts prepped up. That's the key, because then when it's a painting day, I'm not wasting time doing this when I could be painting. Kind of an efficiency thing. I always like to share useful information when you're using a block. This is real useful information, especially if you're new to painting. You notice what happens. You only wear out where the edge of the block is catching a sandpaper. So now, it isn't like you can't just go buy more sandpaper, but if you can get more efficiency out of it, it's even better. And watch what will happen. Now, there's nothing on there as I'm sanding this part. And the thing with doing a block, you want to go in every direction. Never just go like that. You dig a ditch. You want to go constantly moving it up, down, around. This is good, useful information, believe me, to somebody who knows. Somebody who's done a lot of block sanding in my life. I look at those guys on the custom car show, the the guys working on cars with these big giant sanding blocks and stuff. And I think, oh man, I know what that feels like. Anyway, at some point, if there's a spot where it isn't feathered in, you notice how the sandpaper only got... Now you're getting the most use out of the sandpaper. And watch what'll happen. As I'm doing this, no matter what motion I use, I'm only using that edge to cut. I'm not using the flat part of the block. Number one, these parts are not that accurate. So if I were to block sand them in like a machine shop, well, I'm not sure. They're really not that accurate. And there's still a little spot that isn't totally taken care of. And that is a really useful trick. Now, I always think if you watch these videos and you can pick up little tips, well, it's worth putting up with my arrogant personality and my mean spirit and everything. And because when I watch somebody's videos on YouTube, I want to pick up information. That's the primary reason for watching them. I watched a video last night about a guy that showed 100 different ways to take out Allen bolts that are frozen in place. And I looked at him and I said, well, the guy, you know, he had a dirty work table and a dirty shirt on, and pretty much what I have. And I learned something. And I know that's information I'll use in the future. Anyway, this is a good trick, something you can put in the bank. Another good tip for your workbench, just get an old towel. When you're doing this kind of work, especially Bondo, I'm not going to go out there now because it's raining. That's why I have about 100 of these towels. And just shake it out and just get a fresh towel. So you don't want to breathe this in. It's just not good to be breathing all this dust in. I went out in the back thinking, oh, maybe there's a chance I can get out there and prime some of these parts. I don't think so. I don't think so, Wendy. Anyway, this is why you have to be flexible. And it's why all my leapfrogging stuff seems to work for me so well. Now the final thing is I'll soft block down the whole part, and every time I do this, and by the way, this is just common ordinary technology here, I want to put another coat of primer on everything, a light, super light coat just to seal. Remember, the primer is only acting as glue. And then what I want to do is make it stop snowing, Santa Claus. Man, I'm in the mood for Santa Claus here, but this is pushing it. And anyway, every day we just have a lot of fun. We're decorating the house. You can see how nice that black sands right off. We don't have to do much more than that. I don't want to go back down to plastic, but this will just impart a nicer finish on it. And even if the part were perfect and I were to take the black and put an extra coat on, in essence, I'd be using the black as filler coat. It's going to be nicer. There's an old saying that I use for modeling. Every time you sand something and repaint it, sand it again, repaint it, sand, at some point in time, it gets beautiful. It's when you try to skip a step that you're disappointed at the very end. And even spending an extra day like I'm going to spend today. There's no substitute for just being picky, and I am picky as can be. And that is so many people, I guess, that are looking for a shortcut in life for everything that I don't know. I think it's better off just paying the price than spend. A good example is I'm looking for the fountain of youth. If I spent all the time I spend looking for the fountain of youth working in a coal mine, I'd be rich. That's Luciano calling me. The puppy probably bit him again. Oh, Karen's poor garden. It wasn't that long ago. Oh my God. It wasn't so long ago, we had flowers everywhere. So even though we've dealt with the snow all day long, we managed to get these sanded out. And we actually have a little time here at the end of the day. I mean, I'm shocked that we do, but we do. Now this, of course, is my Valentine radar detector. Totally reliable for several years. One day, I fuel up the bike. After I fuel it up, I turn it on, nothing happens, the lights go on, but I don't hear the screamer. Oh, here we go again. So by diagnosing this out, and my real good diagnosis, I really did this. I was looking at it, and I was out on a ride, and it was making me crazy, and I was jiggling this wire that goes in here, and it would go on, off, on, off, on, off. And I said, oh, bad wire. So, genius again. You got to remember, I hate electricity. I figure I come home, how hard can this be to diagnose? I mean, it's an on-off thing. I diagnose it down to where it's in this connector. Now, let me take this out and show. So, I'm so smart, I figure out, oh, look at that. How easy can it be? I read the directions, and it says it's an ordinary phone jack, an RJ11. Oh, I look at RJ11s, yeah, look at that. They're exactly the same. So I go and buy another wire, a brand new wire, no big deal. I buy the wire, I look, both ends are RJ11. Wow, this is going to be easy. I plug them in, now the thing doesn't even work. Now I can't even get it to work at all. I said, oh, okay, so let's put this wire back. I put this back and jiggle around, it comes on again. I says, so there's something tricky going on here. So what I didn't realize, though, it didn't go on that time. What I didn't realize is this. When I put the wire that I bought and attached it, it blew the 2-amp fuse. So now, even this wire didn't work. So I went and bought a pack of 50 fuses. So this would never happen again. Then I noticed, I said, let me check this out. I look at the way these are made, and this wire, if you were to look at it, I did a little research out on the internet, and these come two different ways. These come to where they're both exactly the same, and then the other one, and let's just say, to make this easy, the yellow wire, which is the one that was bad, is on the right. On this one, the yellow wire's on the left. And when you know about all this RJ11 stuff, which I don't, you realize there's a flip wire. There's a reverse one and a regular one, of course. This is why I'm passing this information on. If you have a radar detector, before you make yourself crazy or blow the fuse, check the one. So I checked this one, and I says, well, okay, it's pretty simple. I'll call Valentine, and I'll get a brand new wire. So you would think this may be the answer to the problem. Now I'm going to unbox it and see if it is. I love unboxing stuff. I feel like I'm doing, well, this is the exact wire that's supposed to be the, what else? Made in China. Oh my God. They've already taken over the world. I wonder if you're ever in China and they open up a package of cornflakes and it says, made in Rutherford, New Jersey. I don't think so, but now I got to get my glasses to do this. But now this is supposed to be the exact replacement wire. So this is why I like to share information. If somebody had shared this with me, I'd already know it. So let's see if we put the two things on the same way. And let's see, is yellow? My God, I can't even. Aha! They're reversed. On this one, yellow is on this side. On this one, yellow is on this side. So now you would think, never assume, if I plug this in, and I plug this in. By the way, it looks complicated, but this is really not a big deal to do. The thing to remember is that these things come two different ways. And again, if watching this whole video, you figure that out and it saves you the grief, well, good for you. Good for me. Okay, so let me take a fuse that's not, this is a brand new fuse. Make sure it is a brand new fuse. Again, made in China. How come nothing's ever made in somewhere else? Okay, now I got it. Where did I put, the hell did I put the fuse on this? Da-da-da-da-da-da. Don't you just love it? See, I really don't like electricity. This is, but believe me, I would quit riding motorcycles if I couldn't have a radar detector. That's never going to happen. It is just, in our area of the country, so many radar traps, it's just crazy. So, now, I notice, bada bing, bada boom. This doesn't work either. So, I may have another issue, but at least I know I have the correct wire and I have the correct fuse. So, at least I'm one step ahead. When I say I hate electricity, you have no idea. I restored from the studs up 3 houses in my lifetime that I've owned, including this one. I love doing plumbing work. I love doing roofing work. I love doing sheetrock work. What's the one thing I hate? Electricity. So it seems like I have more than my share of electricity. But anyway, here's the point. How smart I am. I put it all back together, turned it, never hooked up a battery. No battery. Now, when I put this battery on, if it beeps, if the screamer goes off, you can tell I'm confused. Then I think we've got something worth sharing on YouTube. Ah! Now, if I didn't make this up, it really did happen. So if you have a Valentine radar detector and a screamer, and by the way, I want to thank Jose. Jose talked me into getting this. I had gotten stopped 4 or 5 times and talked my way out of it because of my smooth, debonair personality. And maybe they thought I was handicapped or something. I don't know. But I finally got a ticket. And then I went and bought the radar detector. Since then, never got another one. Anyway, now that I know, I've hooked up the battery, hooked up the wires. Now, it looks like this is a big mess. But what happens is, I've got a little compartment in here. I've got extra wires, and I keep the extra battery for riding in this cold weather, and extra stuff. If you don't have a radar detector and you're in our part of the country, you better have one. Anyway, and this wire, I'm going to give this to Luciano. Luciano loves to diagnose electrical stuff. So anyway, that is good information, and that's the reason we make these videos. So as I'm beeping and bopping down here and waking up the neighborhood, and by the way, this is called a screamer, and usually the people behind you, 3 bikes behind you, can hear that, and you can hear it over even some of my bikes that are really loud. This is really worth its weight in gold if you value your driver's license. Anyway, it's many times on the video you hear it beeping and bopping, and sometimes you get a false reading, but when it doesn't matter. You don't get a ticket from a false reading. What you get is when you don't get a reading and somebody gets you. Anyway, worth its weight in gold. But anyway, as today's coming to a close, Karen told me she wants to finish the tree today. And a snowy day like this, we're all in the mood for Christmas. So when I was a kid, as poor as we were, we didn't even have a furnace for one winter. We never didn't have a Lionel train under the Christmas tree. And we still have one now, all these years later. Anyway, we really do enjoy decorating the house. It's one of the high points of our whole season. A lot of the ornaments on this tree we've made by hand or been given to us by special people. And the train brings me back to my wonderful childhood. I have always enjoyed Lionel trains. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a great holiday season, a happy Hanukkah, and thanks for watching. And we worked right to the end of the day today on, oh my God, what a day this has been, shoveling snow. Things that you don't see on the video. We got the house, we're almost finished decorating. And tomorrow, if this will freeze up, we'll have another day, and the pond will probably freeze. So again, hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.